Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I am going to do the Booktube Numbers Tag. I've seen a few people do this. It was created by Jim from Jim's Books, Readings, and Stuff. What was your first Booktube video? My first Booktube video was me sitting over here on the couch with my laptop on a stack of books on this. This isn't actually a table. This is the top of a desk, like the old school desk. Remember the old school desk where the top had the parts for the letters and everything? It's the top of a desk. And I had a stack of books on top of this with my laptop on a stack of books pointed at me over there, sitting with my back wedged into, or maybe not, maybe I was just sitting on the couch at that time. Uh, and it was a book haul. It was a book haul. It was called an introductory book haul or something like that. I don't know. Um, and I had a lot of fun doing that. I have thought about going back and watching that, but I am so afraid of doing that. Not really afraid, but just having to see myself like fumble my way through this book haul uh, with the laptop camera, which was awful, absolutely awful. I had no idea that like laptop cameras were so terrible. And what's really odd is that I've seen some that are really good and some that are really bad. That one was really, really bad. I guess, but I didn't buy the laptop for the camera. What's weird is that I went on a quest at the time to find a really good laptop camera, like the kind you plug in or whatever. And I couldn't find one that was better than my phone camera unless I was going to pay like $300 or $400. It was really weird. And so I just wound up buying a better phone, and I've been using it ever since. Anyway, number 2, how many books are you currently reading? I think I am reading, at the moment, I'm reading 2 books at least. I'm right in the middle of the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, or the 56 short stories of Sherlock Holmes. So I am just past the point where like Sherlock and Moriarty fight, and Moriarty goes over the cliffs, the Reichenbach falls, and now he has returned to London all these years later, 3 years later, I think, in the stories, but 8 years later, as far as Conan Doyle writing them. And I'm also reading the collected letters of John and Abigail Adams, about 50 pages into that. Uh, Question number 3. What were the top 3 books you read last year? The Outermost House by Henry Beston. Bring Out Your Dead by J.H. Powell, which is The Outermost House. I made a video about that. It has like 6,000 views. It's my most popular video. And that was a really, really good book. And I'm really, really glad that video got so many views, because I heard from so many people who said, hey, I just ordered this book because of you. Hey, I read this book because of you. It was really good. Thanks for doing that. And I've had people come back in the months since and say, hey, I just read this book because of you. Thank you. That's just awesome to me. And that's part of the reason that I am here. Bring Out Your Dead was about I think it was about Dr. Benjamin Rush in the years after the American Revolution, the late 1700s, about a yellow fever outbreak in Philadelphia and how these doctors were treating it and how it affected Philadelphia. It was really, really bad. And the third was Raiders of the Deep by Lowell Thomas, which, from what I understand, Lowell Thomas is the reporter who was responsible for bringing Lawrence of Arabia to the forefront. Which is really interesting. I didn't know that until just the other day. And Raiders of the Deep was in the years after the First World War, he had become fascinated with U-boats because he had crossed the Atlantic and I guess sailed down the Atlantic and through the Mediterranean. And at that time, they were terrified of U-boats. And so he became fascinated by German U-boats. And in the years after the First World War, he went to Germany and he talked to submarine captains and some of the executive officers, and he got their stories and he wrote them down pretty much as they told them to him. So in a narrative form. Number 4, how many books did you read last year? So I have, if you will notice, the first year I did this, I never said how many books I read. The second year I did this, I never said how many books I've read. And I am going to reveal to you how many books I read last year because it's far less books than I read the year before, and it's far more books than I have read this year, and I'm on track to read. I read 142 books last year. Number 5, how many books have you rated as 5 stars this year? I don't um, I don't really rate books that way anymore. I did when I was younger, but I went through the books that I've read this year, and if I was going to give 5 stars for books, I would have chose Into Thin Air by John Krakauer, First Blood, which is a history of Fort Sumter, the years leading up to the Battle of Fort Sumter, by W.A. Swanberg, Firestorm by Nevada Barr, and No Parachute by Arthur Gould Lee. So the answer would be 4 books. Number 6, do you have a reading target for this year? Are you on track? My goal is the same every year, and that is that I want to read 52 books in a year. And so that's the only reading goal I ever make for myself. Other than I would really always like to be reading more than I read last year. Not in terms of pages or books read. I would just like to spend more time reading than I spent last year. I failed at that this year. But as for my reading goal of 52 books a year, I've read 51 out of 52 so far this year. And number 7, how many pages long is the book you are reading now? So I think the John Adams book is something like, I think it's 400 some odd pages long, 500 pages long. I'm not really rushing that. I have no desire to rush that. So I'm about 50 pages into it, maybe 60. And then the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, or the complete 56 short stories of Sherlock Holmes. I think my edition, every edition is a little bit different. Mine is, I think, 800 pages, but I'm actually reading it in 4 different editions. At the moment, I have the like the Bantam one. Something annoying about the Bantam edition I learned, the 2-volume paperback Bantam edition does not have the Adventures of the Cardboard Box. And in the story after the Adventure of the Cardboard Box, it has a misprint where it takes a 2-paragraph section of the Adventures of the Cardboard Box and smashes it into that next story, which is really frustrating. Actually, I didn't notice that, so I don't know if I'm going to keep those. Then I had the facsimile edition of the Strand magazine with all the illustrations and all the books, and then I have one of the annotated editions, and I keep some up here and I keep some down there, and that way I just don't have to carry them back and forth. And Sherlock Holmes is one of my favorite literary creations of all time, so I don't mind having all those different books. The one I am reading right now, it's the big houndstooth brown one. I think it's 800 pages. Let me see. How long, this is question 8, how long are your videos? The answer is too long. Too long. When I started this, I thought that I would have trouble making like a 5-minute video, and I find that I have the complete opposite problem, which is that I like to turn on the camera and just spew words for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And then I have to chop that video and think, well, you really went off on a ramble here. Nobody's going to watch this. And so the answer is just too long. Too long in all ways. I would really like to be able to make a video in 10 minutes. I'm up to 15 on this one. Number 9, do you have a favorite number? No, I don't think that I have a favorite number. I really don't. 10, last question. Do you have a book on your shelves with a number in the title or on the cover? So I went around the room and I grabbed a few. And this is just for fun. I just grabbed a few. This isn't all of them. Summer of 49 by David Halberstam. Is it Halberstam? Yes. Area 51 by Annie Jacobson. Has anybody read this? Is this any good? I just bought this on a whim. I know really nothing about this or Annie Jacobson. Is this any good? Just let me know if you've read it. 3 by Ted Decker. This is a thriller, I guess. Area 7 by Matthew Riley, who is an Australian author. and he writes these really over-the-top action novels. I've only read one, but I really enjoyed it once I understood what he was doing, which was just writing a huge, over-the-top, like 80s, early 90s style action novel. It was so much fun once I understood what was going on there. I have Jaws 2. Um, I recently found a copy of Jaws, the paperback like this, and it was $10. That just seemed like a lot of money because it was in bad shape. But I will find a cheap copy of Jaws someday. And then 2001: A Space Odyssey by Arthur C. Clarke. And back there. Is this worth reading? Has anybody read this? I'm sure a lot of people watching this have read this. So would you let me know, like, is this any good? I've only read Rendezvous with Rama. That was Arthur C. Clarke, right? Rendezvous with Rama. And I kind of enjoyed that. It wasn't my favorite. I thought it was really funny. Actually, I thought there was a really, really funny moment in Rendezvous with Rama. Now I've got myself questioning if it was Arthur C. Clarke, right? Who wrote Rendezvous with Rama and not Isaac Asimov. Okay, so that is the tag. That is the tag. The last, I guess, I'm supposed to tag people also. And I might do that. It depends. A lot of people I've seen or have been doing this, so by the time I get around to posting this, maybe everybody else that I know will have done it also. So I want to thank Jim for creating this tag. I enjoyed doing this, and I want to thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.